unless you've been living under a rock, you know the midterm elections take place this Tuesday. Early voting locations have been open now. More than 500,000 votes already received.
Here to discuss the changes to this year's procedures, the process, and also answer all of your voting questions is LA County Registrar of Voters Dean Logan. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. So you might remember that he was here in June, just before a statewide primary election, and there was a printing error that left more than 118,000 LA voters off the rosters. What happened? What did you do in your office to make sure this isn't going to happen again?
Yeah, so obviously what happened in June was unfortunate, and we certainly apologize for any voters that were impacted. So there was a system compatibility issue between our local database and the state database that left those names off of the rosters. They weren't eliminated from the record of registered voters. They just weren't printed on the rosters. That's been corrected. The compatibility issue's been addressed. But it also was a good example to show in a undertaking like an election in a jurisdiction like LA County, you have to have contingency plans, and that's what those provisional ballots are for. And again, we want to be sure everybody knows that no matter what, if you show up on Tuesday, you're not going to be turned away without the opportunity to cast a ballot.
There are some changes to this week's election designed to make it easier to vote. Can you explain this new postage paid thing, this new design?
Yeah, so in this election, we introduced a new vote by mail ballot. So we have over 2.2 million voters in LA County that get their ballot through the mail. So it's a new, more intuitive, easier to follow ballot. It's easier to fill out and easier to return because you no longer need to have a stamp to return that ballot. So we've already received over 642,000 of those back in the mail. If people are hanging on to them, they need to be sure they fill them out and get them back by Tuesday.
Okay, I love this. Our KTLA viewers, who are very smart, they sent in their questions. Mary in Laverne is asking this. If someone uses early voting, how is this tracked so that they cannot vote again on Tuesday? Good question.
Excellent question. So the votes that are cast at the early voting locations are actually held until we check the rosters of the people who vote on Tuesday. So again, that's the way we make sure that nobody can vote twice. So we take those ballots, we keep them secured, and once we get the rosters back on election night and clear the voters who voted in person, then we process those ballots.
All right. Another question here. Beth asks, how are the provisional ballots verified?
So provisional ballots are, as I said earlier, the fail-safe method. So anybody who shows up, if you're not listed, if there's any problem at all, you're going to get the opportunity to vote. We just bring that ballot back and we check our record to make sure that that voter didn't also return a vote by mail ballot, didn't vote at an early voting location, or just went to the wrong polling location. And then once we clear that and confirm that they are a registered voter, then anything on that ballot that they would have been eligible to vote for is counted.
I see. Okay, so Paul in Woodland Hills has another great question. Why don't we get confirmation of mailing absentee ballots to us, receipt of the ballot by state, the registration of you voting being counted? My brother in Florida apparently gets all three by email. They want to know why California doesn't do that.
So I think that's a great service, and I think it's something that we would like to offer in the future. Right now, we do have the ability for you to go on to our website and confirm all of those things. So you can look up on lavote.net and confirm that we got your ballot back, that it was verified, and that it was counted.
You just put in your social security number? What do you put in to get?
You put in your name, part of your address, and your birth date. It gets you to your vote record, and you can confirm that.
Just send an email to Lynette and ask for social.
No.
Sherry has a question about voting between counties. My friend is registered in San Diego, recently moved to LA. Can he vote at his local LA polling place with a provisional ballot?
He can, but actually what I love about that question is it highlights a new law in California, which is our conditional voter registration law. The best bet for him would be to go to one of our early voting locations today here in LA County, where he can change his registration to LA County and vote right there on the spot. If he goes to the polling place on election day, they're still going to show him registered in San Diego, and that may make it so his ballot won't count.
I see. Okay, AJ in Arcadia says, I feel foolish and frustrated. Here's what he says that he did. He used a black marker to fill in the mail-in ballot. When I flipped the page over to fill out the other side, the black dots from page one bled into the other side. Will that ballot still be okay?
Absolutely will, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. We actually pre-inspect, physically inspect those ballots before they go through the scanner, so if there's any bleed through, if somebody makes a mistake and puts an X through and corrects their marks, we catch all that before that ballot goes through the tabulator.
Okay. And lastly, Linda writes, my absentee ballot has not arrived. Can I early vote today and just toss the late arriving absentee ballot?
Absolutely. She can go to any of the early voting locations today until 4 o'clock, or she can go to her polling place on election day and they'll issue a ballot.
What's your prediction on turnout here?
I'm always cautious to give a specific number, but everything we're seeing is trending way above the last midterm election. Not quite at the level of a presidential election, but teetering up to that. So I think we could see in the 60% range of turnout in this election.
All right, we hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank
Great
you.
answers, great questions. Election results, voting information, all of that can be found at lavote.net.
Stay with KTLA for all your election coverage. We will continue to have in-depth reports of some of the state's biggest races. You can also read more about the candidates and all those propositions on our website. It is ktla.com/election. Are you a fan?
I'm a fan.
Fan voting?
I'm a fan of voting. Big fan of voting.
What'd they get on there? They got the Chinese Theater, they got City Hall.
Yeah.
Our tagline for that is "From the mountains to the seas." LA votes.
Mountains to the seas.
Oh, mountains to the sea. Who came up with that?
Mm.
You've been around a while.
Thank
I love
you.
it.